This conference will now be recorded.
Ready? Call together the July 20th Stormwater Committee meeting at 2 p.m. Would everybody please rise and face something? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have an agenda in front of us. Did everybody get one? Did everybody print one? Okay. And the question is, are there any changes, deletions, additions to the agenda? If not, I'll assume the agenda is approved. Okay. All right. Yvette, would you like to go through the minutes approval?
Yes. Before I begin, I'd like to give just a real quick housekeeping. We're using the GoToMeeting capability, so we're only going to be able to do remote access and video conferencing recording of the meeting. So please speak into the mic, since we don't have folks here to go over it with too much. I think you all know this, but I will be gently reminding you if you're forgetting, because when I go to do the minutes, I need to be able to hear you. And if you're having a conversation too far away from the mic, I'm not going to be able to record or provide for what was spoken. So just let everybody know to please speak into the mic at all times, and push the mic away if you don't intend to, because it doesn't have a start stop button. Okay, for the minutes in April 20th, 2021, are there any comments? I got a few. They've been upgraded and integrated, and we can go ahead and proceed with approving them now, or making any additional changes before they get handed over to Sherry for posting.
Do we make motions on this to approve?
Yeah, you make a motion, then you discuss, and then you vote.
I make a motion we approve.
Who seconds?
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. There's no discussion. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Opposed? Minutes, motion carries. Agenda is, or minutes are approved, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, public comments we will skip due to the absence of public. Communication and education, Victoria Green, volunteer water monitoring update, please. And pull that microphone towards you, please.
Okay, first I'm going to hand out these. Amanda, could you help me?
Yeah, I find to make it work, you have to slide it towards you and push it down.
Okay. And I think Dr. Leibus was trying to get on the GoToMeeting, but I think we're having issues, so I'm just going to call her. Apologize. She wants to talk about your beach, your DHEC beach report.
Oh.
Hi. Hi.
Like you texted me the
Mm-hmm.
Should I speak on the phone?
Can you hear that? Say something again.
Can you turn it up a little?
Yeah.
Say a word.
Speak louder.
That's
How's
good.
this? Perfect.
Excellent. So Susan, I just handed out our slides. And yeah, if you want to start us off with the beach bacteria report.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Sorry I couldn't be there. I have put together in the standard format what DHEC has reported thus far for your beach season sampling. The sites are the usual sites, so let me know if you want to review anything about them. I know that John can tell you the current regulatory status of them. I color-coded the columns to highlight where the long-term advisories are posted. And these change over time depending on the past year's results. So you've got 3 sites that are on the long-term advisory list, and they're all sites that are impacted by stormwater runoff through swashes, these small tidal creeks. The good news here is that only of all the samples that have been collected weekly since the beginning of the beach season in May, only 1 has exceeded the water quality standard for swimming safety. And that is surprisingly at Walk 34, which is located at 8th Avenue South. I don't think there's a swash down there. So the usual interpretation of transitory exceedance like that, there was a follow-up done the next day and the water was clean again, is that perhaps there was some birds there and they left some fecal matter that had the bacteria Enterococcus that DHEC tests for. So this is pretty good news, I think, for the town overall, that regardless of what rain fell, and you had quite a few samplings that were done shortly after the rainfall, things were in very good shape. Remember that 2 of the sites where the volunteer monitoring work is done are upstream of the long-term advisories. At Walk 31, that's called 11th Avenue North, that's Lake Dogwood, and Walk 31A, that is upstream of Myrtle Lake. So one of the things that we've been checking for with the volunteer monitoring program is that the upstream lakes are not sources of bacteria contamination downstream in the surf zone. So it does certainly look that way from the testing that has been done thus far this year. But Victoria is now going to show you the volunteer monitoring results from these upstream sites. So I'll pass this back to her.
Thank you. So on the next page, you'll see 2 of the 2 graphs. That's all I have for you today. It was kind of a slow quarter. If you want a bigger version, I also have those. If you're depending on how big you'd like your data points. But you'll see on the very end, we've added the last quarter of data. It's for Myrtle Lake on that top graph. You're looking at E. coli over time. The red line is going to be the DHEC water quality standard, and the green one is the EPA beach action value. So it's just kind of a similar story that we hear for Myrtle Lake, following whenever it's not winter, it seems to be having a bacteria issue or elevated bacteria. We'll be looking into doing some more advanced analysis of seasonal trends and see if we can get to the bottom of this. So yeah, that is kind of what we anticipated, that you have a lull in the winter colder months, and that's more reflective of just E. coli's, the environment it grows best in. It's going to slow down in our winter months. Lake Dogwood was looking pretty good over the past quarter, especially. We've had some really strong rain events that you'd kind of expect it to have washed a lot of that geese poop into the water, but we weren't really seeing that. Perhaps it was too much rain. So you'll see, and Ken Harth does really great summaries after sampling to sort of help contextualize. So you all know this very well. And then Susan's provisional reports, which provides some of the more long-term analysis, also follows every sampling. So Kind of a quiet quarter, but that's good considering all the work that's going on in the town. So we didn't include the turbidity graph like normal. Just what else? Yeah, so we're just focusing on bacteria. We're going to be doing some for our bacteria. We've been using the Easy Gel for those of you who are familiar with it, and we're doing another comparison because we've switched over from the Plus media, which had that fluorescent, so dual conformation. So now we're back to the regular media. So Ken will be testing that this summer as well, just to make sure that our results are consistent throughout the data set. And we're pretty confident that they are, but we'll get more data from Ken this quarter. So that's all the data I got. Susan, am I missing anything?
Turtle Lake, we know we have a known problem that's probably related to the geese, but Ken has been doing some upstream source tracking and found there might be some sources, perhaps dog waste, that is located up towards Town Hall. I'll say that things get higher in the summer because the source is probably more active. I'm not sure that we can say that there's been more bacteria growing in. I think it's just the source is more active, whether it's dogs or geese. And then in Lake Dogwood, these numbers are usually low, I think reflecting the wonderful function that ponds have at settling particles and purifying the water. There's less of that going on in Myrtle Lake, I think, just because the source is so much more dominant. It is a smaller water body, and there is a pretty big resident goose population. So that's why these two ponds look so different.
Does anyone have any questions about that so far?
A question, we're going with quarterly data here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get any indications of, horrible excursions? If you do individual points, I see some of the red numbers above that probably represent those real high single days because you're looking at 5 or 6 numbers per quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And so do you get a feel for that there's anything you'd be concerned about by not seeing individual dates? That's all.
Susan, are you?
Yeah, Ron, excellent point. That when a very high number is encountered, such as the ones represented by the numbers in red, we do look pretty carefully at what the volunteers reported at the site and what all the other measurements were pointing to figure out if there was something singular happening to account for that very high number. We are using the median values in part to smooth out the impact of just a single high number here or there. That might be like the Enterococcus at the beach that we just looked at. One time high value. It isn't anything that from a management perspective you could do anything about. You really need to understand your sustained trends over time so that you can make a measured management decision about what to do. Computing a median value does that smoothing effect. Now, we have the uncombined results at the graph online at the public website. So that's certainly available to look at. And the point of the provisional reports are also, if we encounter a very high value, to get everybody's attention as soon as possible in event that some kind of follow-up is needed. So we are considering the data after every single sampling event, not just in these quarterly medians. Ron, did that answer your question?
Yes.
I was talking to Brian Rabin at DHEC the other day, and he said it would make his life so much easier once they develop an instantaneous measurement of bacteria. Then it'd be so much easier to talk about bacteria and communicate it with the public. But I think this is a good overview. And again, what Susan was saying, trends over time is what we're interested in. And we're working to do some more sophisticated analysis coming up with we have some new students, and so we're going to put them to work crunching numbers. So.
Yeah, can I comment?
Yeah.
And I think we should all understand the value that DHEC tests sites that are not swash related, because this really illustrates the point that not all bacteria is necessarily terrestrial based coming off the land, but it might just be floating on by, or it might just be a situational thing on the beach. You know, we have some historically bad locations, but it's important to understand from a management perspective, there's oftentimes very little we can do about what comes into our near shore waters.
I have a comment real quick. Congratulations on your co-op approval. That's good. Very
Thank
good
you.
news.
Yeah. We are really proud of that co-op. It represents, years of hard work and from Dr. Liebus and our colleagues, and then also the volunteers telling us, giving us feedback, telling us what works, what doesn't work, and what's continually improving our method. So you're welcome to read the document. It's on our website. It's, just 25 pages of DHEC structured gibberish, but it helps prove to them the value and the high quality data we're producing. So I have a copy if you want to see the signatures. I didn't forge them, I promise. But
I think with your co-op, doesn't it sort of make you really, really legitimate? So to speak?
Yes, and we did have a co-op for the rivers, but this one now encompasses all the programs, and it's updated, so it does increase our legitimacy. And we're continuing to look at more ways for DHEC to use our data, and to acknowledge that we've got some great citizen scientists here, and they're giving us great data that we can use in a variety of ways.
Congratulations, because I do know co-ops take a long time and they're a lot of hard work. Goes into
It was a lot of hard work, but I'm glad we finished it. And part of the co-op was developing our handbook, which I think all of you have now seen, and I'm sure you might have spotted some photos. Ron, I think you made the final cut. Yes. Did you see your photo? You're on the
Yes, I did.
figure 16.
Yes. My swan song. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, all of that was part of our many months of review. So we're glad to have it done. And the next part of that is our volunteer training events. I think many of you have gotten my email about this. Now I know the Surfside team has a lot of folks right now, but there'll be one weekend. I know that all of you go on vacation and there'll be no one here. So you're welcome to bring a friend. There'll be food, and we'll review some of the changes and make sure that everyone has the same understanding of our handbook, and we'll share best practices and just have fun, So, and you only have to attend one. The closest one to y'all will be the Huntington Beach State Park, but you're welcome to come to CCU or Hobcoff. That's where you want to go.
Will other people on the committee be attending the training?
I'm signed up for August 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah,
The third?
I'm gonna sign up for August 31st.
Because I've signed up for the 17th. I have family in town on the 3rd, but maybe I'll change it to the 31st if you're going, Hope.
I am going to go that. I haven't signed up yet. That's the day I was.
Can I change that online?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can just email you to confirm. You're welcome to attend any of them, and it might benefit to work with people on other teams and even other programs, but you're also welcome to stick together.
Okay,
Let me,
I'll find out what the Merle's Inlet people are doing also. Thanks.
yeah. And then my last two little tidbits, we're working on other citizen science. So you've heard me mention about the CocoRa's weather monitoring stations. It's a great program. And there is some flexibility. I think I was overhearing y'all talk about that. You do have to check it every morning, but for example, we have one at the university and we check it most Monday through Friday at 9:30. Don't get there. I'm not there at work at 7:30, but yeah, so there is some flexibility there if you want to try to convince some of your neighbors to join. One thing we're really excited about is partnering with NOAA's Phytoplankton Monitoring Network. So they're looking for harmful algal blooms. I'm sure you've heard about red tide in Florida, and then perhaps fish kills more locally. So we are getting started with that, and there's two programs. There's a saltwater program where you're looking at obviously saltwater species, but those would be more likely to cause red tide. And then we're also looking at freshwater, which can be applied to the river, stormwater ponds. And those we're looking for any a couple different types of harmful algal bloom species. So we're still learning more, I'll preface that. But it is a citizen science program. You collect a sample and then volunteers analyze the sample by examining it under a microscope. So we're hoping to offer that more widespread and it'd be a resource. If someone says, hey, there's an algae problem in this pond, hopefully we'll be able to say, all right, give us a sample. What do we got? It's just nuisance algae, or you need to make sure to keep your pets away from that. No swimming in the stormwater pond, but we all know you shouldn't be doing that anyway. So yeah, we're really excited about that. I wish I had more information for you, but just stay tuned. If you love looking at things in the microscope, this is the program for you.
Question, you're looking for people to do the actual testing, but you're also looking for people who are finding the algae problems?
Great question. So both. So you need a water sample to look at, and that's easy. It's just you just collect the water sample in fresh water. And then in saltwater, you do a brief 3-minute plankton tow with a small plankton net. But then you use microscopes and you just examine the slide. You put a little drop of water and you search back and forth and see what you find. Because microscopes are relatively portable, it could be done anywhere. We haven't really figured out the logistics for that. And it doesn't really require any special equipment except a microscope.
Oh, okay.
So someone could do it in their garage. Yeah, so
So there's no set site like there is in the volunteer water monitoring? It's wherever algae is found or considered to be a problem?
The program, we would identify a site and we'd work with local officials and the neighborhood or whoever to figure out, is this a site we want to monitor? Do we have volunteers to take care of it? And do we think there's an issue here? Because you don't really want to look at just an empty slide all day. But we would work with Phytoplankton Monitoring Network, the NOAA team, to come up with those sites and use we're just helping facilitate their program here and essentially to supplement some of our volunteer monitoring results, because excuse me, occasionally on the river, we've seen some unusual results, and having more information, especially once we think the data is suggesting an algal bloom, if we can identify the species, then we can just have more information about what's going on and what might need to be done.
Question.
Mhm.
How long a time period would the sample be viable?
Great question. So it's about 8 hours from when it's collected. You should be looking at it. Otherwise, it needs to be preserved with an iodine solution. So, yeah.
I was just thinking, if you had teams, one guy with a microscope and a couple of guys doing sampling, you could all bring them to one place. One person could sample or one person could do the microscopy, because that's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And the others could be out scattered around, bringing them to him.
Yeah.
I like microscopy. That's a good word. So it is.
Yeah, so we're gonna do some testing, some little like guinea pig groups, we think in Briarcliff Acres, and see how that works. And then hopefully we'll be able to offer it to whoever's interested. It does take, I don't wanna understate the work it'll take to get skilled in this plankton ID, but for our area, there's not too many of the harmful ones that you have to know about, and that this program is comfortable in identifying. So there is that small number of ones you're concerned about, but then so many more that you're going to be like, what is this? You're not going to know, and you're going to spend a lot of time trying to identify those other species.
It's important to notice, or to note, I should say, that we do treat our lakes for aquatic vegetation and algae when it appears. So I don't know if Surfside Beach is going to have that big of an outbreak that will be noticeable before it gets treated.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe more of a natural, like a river situation or someplace that doesn't get the attention that our lakes get. It might be the prime candidates for a program like that.
We don't have much. We have little spots around some edges, and that's all. Is that something you would worry about sampling? It doesn't seem like it's a major thing. So
It's very complicated. I'll just start with that. So you can't always tell that this type of algal bloom is happening just by looking at it. Sometimes if you do have surface algae, that's just like nuisance. It's just aesthetic, it's so yeah, it's very hard to sort of like generalize them, but and again, we're learning more, but you can't just look at a pond and say that there's no harmful algal blooms, but you'd be looking for other signs. So perhaps something that would alert you to it is high turbidity, green color to the water, fish kills, pet deaths, anything like that would sort of alert you to a problem. But if you do have great pond management, you are hopefully less likely to see them, but we'll
we
find
did
out.
have an incident, I believe, in our neighborhood, not our neighborhood, Garden City, with a couple dogs that got ill swimming in a couple of the drainage ditches.
Mhm.
And so there was a warning sent out to everyone about not letting your dogs jump in.
Mhm.
And but it's the only time I've ever heard it so far.
Okay. All right, and last thing, if you have any questions, if you need anything from us, or have any questions about your data, contact Susan or me. And you can visit our website to see your data anytime and make pretty graphs of your own. So thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much, Victoria. Okay. All right. Do you have other Watershed Academy things to talk about?
No, apologies. I kind of combined them.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
But I'll have, if anyone has a good spot for my training flyers, either in the town or if you got a friend in the town over, I'd be happy if you could put those up for us and share the word.
Just an interjection. We all have different first names. Would you like us to say, this is Ron, this is Victoria, right before each one of us speaks? Would
No,
that help you?
I haven't had any problem with
This group, yeah,
yeah,
okay.
with us students being able to.
All right.
Plus, I get a visual, so I can look and see who's talking as well.
All right. All right. Ahmed, would you please present?
Yes.
And thank you for coming in. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
First, I would like to express my joy for being here for the first time. So thank you so much for having me. So I will start by introducing some of our major successful events held in the. You hear me well? Okay. So I will start by introducing some of our major successful events organized and held by our aid providers for the past few months. So on June 8th, we had a Grand Health Fund workshop session, and this is a partnership between North California Bay, Clemson Extension, and South Carolina Sea Grant Consortium. The topic for this session was wildlife management, and it was very very informative, and it had a great participation from around 100 participants. So these workshops are showing a growing participation over time, which is really encouraging. The next workshop will be held in September, but details on the exact date and the topic of the session will be announced soon. We also had a very successful 2021 Wakamu conference that was organized in partnership between Wakamu Riverkeeper and North Inlet Bay. And this year's conference extended for a whole month, from World Water Day March to Earth Day April. And it had a huge participation of over 650 participants. And it involved several activities, including virtual presentations, panels, weekend cleanups, executive sessions, and also it had a students poster contest. And the key elements for the success of this year's conference was extended duration, 4 months this time, in addition to being a hybrid event. So it increased the capacity of participation. The next slide. So also this summer, the engineering program in Coastal Carolina University is that we are actually looking for more and more involvement as education providers. So this summer we organized a STEM program for K-12 students, and this is a partnership with the Village Group in Plantersville, Georgetown County, and it's taking place in Carver Free High School. And this program is designed to introduce students to major environmental topics and challenges, and also to engineering careers. And each week we have a new learning module, so it's 5 modules per 5 weeks, covering several topics that includes water and soil analysis and site monitoring, contamination and watersheds, water treatment and water cycle, the journey of wastewater from homes to discharge, and solid waste management. The students get the chance to learn about these sensitive environmental topics, and also they have some hands-on experience that can help them in the future independently. We also introduce students to building and programming robotics. So they learn the basics of coding and how to apply coding in technology. And we also invite STEM professionals to talk to students about their work and life challenges and provide very helpful advice to students. We also organize field trips and visits to water and wastewater treatment plants. So last week, for example, we had 2 visits to the water and wastewater district in Georgetown County, so that students get the chance to visualize the process and learn better about it. And for Capstone Week, which is starting next week, from July 26th to July 29, students will be provided with assignments so that they can show their learning outcome, and they will get the chance to demonstrate the work during the parents' observation day.
May I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
I'm just interested in how one would manage with a 5-week program for kindergarten through senior in high school, and how do you manage the groupings, and how much time does each spend in the program? That you don't have kindergartners going 5 days a week for 5 weeks, do you?
We are actually covering grades 2 to 10.
Okay.
For this time, but like it's for younger grades, it's a little bit tough to have control over them. And for younger grades, we focus more on challenges that help them think, and like the marshmallow challenge and toxic popcorn and stuff like that. And also for field trips, we take them for field trips so that they get to like have some fun and stuff like that. But like we also give them presentations and introduce them like to very basic topics like the hydrologic water cycle and urban water cycle, and the differences between them in a nice way. We give them videos, course to help them learn. And for older grades, like things go much smoother than this. So we give them the robotics and the bigger parts of.
Do you have them in a small groups or large groups?
We actually have groups. Each group is around 20 something.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's how good
Okay. Okay. I have a number of high school teachers, or not high school, I should say teachers, that we were discussing this the other day, and they were asking about the programs that the kids can get in. So I just wanted to hear more. How do you get the information about these out to the schools? Do they go directly through the public school systems, or?
We actually organized this, and this was our first event for Dr. K and me, and we organized this through like discussions with Georgetown County.
Okay.
They actually created the initiative. They wanted to create this program, and we put the plan for it, and it was just like some sort of discussion between us.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
No problem. And for our major ongoing and future events, It includes continuing this Campus Summer Academy to the end of this month. It will end on July 29, and we are looking forward to celebrate this by knowing that the students learned some new things and got some hands-on experience. And also we have currently uploading 411 webinar sessions that is organized by North Military Bay. It started in July 14, and it's 4 sessions ending on August 1st. The first session had a great participation, and the next one is tomorrow. And tomorrow's session is going to cover flood management and recovery. And also these sessions cover very vital topics like what are the best approaches to maintain safety of families and property owners against severe flooding. And it also introduces some definitions of several types of flooding. We also have the Grand Strand Health Reform Series that will be held in next September, as I mentioned, and it will be announced soon. Also, these days, like North Indian 20 Bay are organizing the 2022 Grand Strand Stormwater Fund Conference, and they are looking forward to more participation and better networking and more opportunity in the next conference. That's why they are organizing 2 days event, a main day event and another field day. And they are currently looking for community involvement and input on how to make this next conference a better one and a great success. And finally, there is the volunteer water quality monitoring training that Victoria discussed. So I'm not going to discuss this in further detail. And we invite everybody to check our websites for announcements, because currently there are more planning for events, and more events will be announced in the near future. So we invite you to visit our website. Thank you. That's all.
Looks good.
I just want to add, if I remember correctly, the next Grand Strand Healthy Pond series will be about HABs, and I think that was in September, about those harmful algal blooms. So it's a hot topic.
Do you know when that will be?
I don't remember the date.
It haven't been announced the exact date yet, but like they are planning it for September.
Is that for next year, 2022?
This year.
This year.
The workshops for this year, but the full conference is going to be in February 2022.
Thank you, Ahmed.
Thank you.
John, you're up.
Hi, everybody. We're in summer maintenance mode right now, basically, as you all know, with cutting grass and cleaning the beach and things like that. But we are still moving forward with our stormwater maintenance, ditch cleaning. As some of you have seen, the Dogwood Swash project has dragged on due to various reasons, most notably the contractor's method that they chose to install the pilot piles, the test piles did not work. So they had to source the proper piece of equipment and an auger drill and a drill bit to drill into the marlstone layer underneath the swash. And that they had to get it like from Virginia, manufactured for them. And that in conjunction with Grand Strand Water and Sewer, replacing their water mains that run through there. Both of those issues have led to significant delays in completing this project. It was supposed to be done by the end of May, and it's looking more like the end of September now. So nobody's happy about that. I'm sure the people on the block aren't happy about it, but at least we're not blocking anybody's driveway or anything like that. We're just inconveniencing people by having to drive around the block. So it could be, I'm an optimist. It could be worse, but I'm looking forward to the completion of the project.
I've got to ask, everyone's asking, when is the commitment to get it done? Is the estimate the end of September?
Yeah, the new
It's got
timeline.
slippage in it probably or not? So
Pardon?
is there likely slippage in that date too?
Well, we hope to get it done sooner. We're
Okay.
asking them to accelerate that if possible. Once this old asbestos pipe is removed from the site, which has to be done under license for abatement from DHEC, that should be done this Friday. The contractor has said that they're ready to go with the drilling into the test piles.
Okay.
Once the 2 test piles pass the PDA test, the pile data analysis test from the geotechnical firm, then they can order the production piles, all the rest of the piles.
Wow.
And then they'll take a couple weeks to get. And then once those are going to go in the ground, it should move along pretty rapidly.
Okay.
Because they have the box culvert ready to go. It's ready to, everything else is ready to go. Just getting those piles situated is the large hurdle here.
Consensus is doing a number of jobs around town, I understand, and people are concerned, just scuttlebutt gossip that you hear that they've got too much on their plate and they aren't able to get them done. Is that really a
I don't
portion
know
of
that
this?
that's true. The pier project, which they have the contract for,
Yeah.
they're in partnership with the Intercoastal Marine, which
Yeah.
is a bridge building company, a large up and down the East
Yeah.
Coast
Mhm.
bridge building company. And they're pretty much doing most of the work right now up to this point with the pier, putting all the podium piles in and
Mhm.
preparing to build the trestle over the ocean. Consensus is essentially doing project management. That when it comes time to build the buildings, Consensus will build the buildings with their own people, but they haven't gotten to that point yet.
Correct. Okay.
And as far as the swash goes, I think they, they might have had this equipment on hand when they started, the proper drill and all that. Because the last job we did at the Myrtle Swash, that was done pretty expeditiously.
Is there a reason this change in contractors was just price?
Well, yeah, exactly. The bids were significantly, the bid for this job was significantly lower than the next bidder. And there was no, if someone's licensed to do the work, there's no real major reason to give it, to not award it to them. When you award government work, if the response is a responsive bid and a responsible bid, if they can do the work and, there's really, you're spending the public's money. You can't, that's where you always hear that old adage about, the government goes with low bid and stuff. Well, we can skip low bid if there's a good reason to skip the low bid, but if there's not a good reason to skip the low bid, you really should be taking the lowest responsive bid. Because we're responsible to, be stewards of the public's money. Most of the time it works fine. Sometimes there's hiccups. I've had things go on a lot longer than they need to, or, it doesn't happen that often. But in this particular case, the particular equipment that was needed to accomplish the job, they didn't have, so they had to source it. So,
I was at the town council meeting, first I'd been in over a year, and the mumbling in the audience was what caught my attention, so, and I knew nothing about it.
yeah.
But the question was, so is the town going to be buying the drill and that sort of stuff?
No, they'll own that. That'll be there.
That was just people angry.
Yeah. And typically, and you have people who, and we all know this, there's the us against them mentality with a lot of, council members and some citizens, that when a different group of people are in charge, then there's people picking apart everything that they do. So it kind of goes back and forth with each election cycle.
Yeah.
There's nothing here that was really done wrong or ill-advised or anything like that. It's just a matter of, sometimes you have to deal with the cards that you're dealt. Like I said, I'm just glad that we're only closing a little piece of road, not blocks and blocks of road. And, the people can still rent their houses out, and we're not really, critically impacting anybody.
So to get back on the swash work, the old asbestos pipe was not a known factor. So somebody's going in there and remediating it? Another
Yes.
company has to do that,
Yes,
right?
yeah, we
Right.
through our geotechnical company, SNME,
Mhm.
they have an abatement contract that they're working with to remove that, and of course, we'll have to
I didn't know that. That's,
pay for that.
they got
Separate.
an asbestos pipe that nobody knew about?
Well, I mean,
At the
I-
council meeting, there was a gentleman that came to speak about that from the company who is.
well, our engineer from Thomas and Hutton
Yeah.
gave a little bit
Yes.
of an update,
Yes.
and it
So
was-
that wasn't anticipated to know.
No,
there was a
and it's not so much the
water line.
material wasn't anticipated, it's just that the location, Grand Strand, when you start a project like this, you have to locate all your utilities. And Grand Strand didn't really know where this pipe exactly was under the swash. If it was in the footprint of what we had to do or not. And once the site was excavated, then it became obvious where it was and what it was made out of, all the particulars of this pipe. And we asked Grand Strand Water and Sewer to look at it and, could we disturb it? Could we work around it? And the old AC lines with asbestos concrete pipes, they're very brittle. And, through certain vibrations and whatnot, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
They break pretty easily. So it was thought a sensible thing to replace it while we had the whole thing open. So the contractor pretty much said, okay, because they're waiting for their part anyway. And they're waiting till we get done, and then that should be completed. But like I said, by the end of the week, that material should be gone and safely transported out of here.
Are the homeowners being understanding?
Yeah, for the most part. We had to shut people's water down for a day when we were switching over from one pipe to the other. So several people were out of water for 6-7 hours. But other than that, we really haven't had too many problems. We're trying to accommodate everybody. And of course, when the job is done, we'll restore any landscaping and grass that we screwed up with, all new sod. And so they'll be happy when we're done.
Warning in advance, you can work around 6 days out.
Yeah. And we're not running the pumps 24 hours a day and keeping people up at night. So, we're all handling it the best we can.
John, this is the number one topic that people talk about in this town is the swash being closed and it's extended and what's happening. And of course, all the projects, I know the pier and others get so much invitation too. But the one thing that strikes me about it is when we sit here and we're supposedly reasonably informed people on this committee, yet so much good information comes out when we sit down and discuss it. It's a matter of getting all that information out to the public. Asbestos pipe found, all right, need a drill equipment and capabilities. How can we communicate to people better on all the developments so that there aren't all these stories floating around and people say, what the hell's taking so long? It must be this company or that company or whatever.
Well, the best way to do it is the way we've been doing it. We brought the engineer into a council, sitting with the pier. We've been doing regular updates for the public at the council meetings with the contractor. They presented one day. Bill Shanahan presented this past council meeting about the pier. They put a few slides up there saying, this is where we are. This past council meeting, we brought the engineer to talk about the Dogwood Swash project to give everybody an update. That's the best way to communicate it. I mean,
I guess it is, but if you look at the population of the town and the number who attend the town meetings, there's a huge disparity. And I don't think we're getting the message out, or we wouldn't be hearing the buzz from everybody about all these things. And I've frankly got tired of the town council meetings a year or so ago and kind of quit out on them. And I would like to be, as a representative person of the town, informed in some other way than having to go to town council meetings to hear each of these things. So I'm just curious if we have any thoughts about how to do that, because this is our, as a group, stormwater is our domain, but public works is also seems to be the thing we've got at least one foot in, and interested in better communication to all the residents somehow, some way. That's all I'm.
Yeah, I mean, we Sherry sends out Facebook, an email blast to the public with certain topics from time to time. We can update the town's Facebook page and put a little blast on there once in a while. But I don't know how else to, it's.
It might be hopeful, I'm guessing, because at one or two of the workshops Bill Shanahan had around January to March with residents, the public information officer idea came out. Because I think what Ron is saying is really relevant. We got avenues of information going out there. If you come to the public meetings, you may hear firsthand. If you read postings on Facebook, it depends on
where you get
who is speaking and whether or not it's a reliable source or not that people question. So I think the issue is if we can have a reputable source where anybody who reads it or hears about it can go to, then they have a better level of confidence. So there isn't all this snikiness and the snackiness and whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
so maybe that's it, is all the information feeds into a public information officer whose job it is to become that reliable source.
I think that's the intention of the town, is to hire and maintain that position, and down in the future is having a PIO. Maybe as a part-time of somebody else's duties to just get that message out. But even so, the way people like to receive information is different. You could talk to 5 people on the same block and they'll tell you 5 different things as how they'd like to receive information. Some people like newsletters in the mail. Some people like the email blast. Some people like Facebook. Some people like coming to the meeting. Some people like calling Public Works and asking me on the phone, hey, which I get probably 10 a week. What's going on with this issue? What's going on with that issue? So having a PIO, a professional PIO who knows what they're doing, would maybe find the 5 most popular channels and make sure those are hit at all times. You may not make everybody happy, but at least you'll cover everything. That rather than a department head who's in the middle of speaking for myself, this is my 7th meeting of the day. Various topics. I may not be the best of getting a message out about a project update.
Yeah, I'm tired of hearing who's to blame about everything.
Yeah, well, sadly,
So
yeah.
I'd rather get facts out.
Yeah, no, I think in this case with the Dogwood Swash, I think the contractor bears a little bit of blame. I think Grand Strand Water and Sewers, just circumstances based on what they had in the ground, bears some of the blame. I think the current supply chain with post-COVID supply chain issues bears some of the blame. There's plenty to go around.
There's also more of us, maybe with more time on our hands since we can't be as active.
Yeah, the
So
public may be more
it
hungry
plays a
for
part.
information than they normally would be. But at the end of the day, the project is going to cost a lot less than it would have with the next bidder for the town. 3/4 of it will be paid for by our REA grant, up to $500,000. Probably will get less than that because I don't think the job's going to cost anywhere near the amount it would in order to use the whole 500. And then the balance, 100 or 150 or somewhere in that range, will come out of our stormwater utility fund, which is better than the whole bill.
I think it's amazing what you get done with grants. And
If you find the right fit, there's certain grants that are a good fit for us, and there are a lot of grants out there that are not. There are a lot of grants out there that are geared towards potable water and sewer things, and grants out there that are geared towards the underserved communities and various demographics that we don't have here. But we look, and when something seems like it's the right fit, we apply. But that's really the only project update that's relevant, I think, for right now.
Okay.
I'm surprised at the amount of conversation about the $500 and some fees that were going to be in question of returned or due to people not paying, and 501(c)(3) is not paying timely. And I thought, to keep the big picture in mind and what the stormwater
Yeah.
is in
I
general.
don't know if everybody's familiar with that situation. We just, this past fall, the second round of stormwater utility fee bills went out. Last year in 2019 fall, the first round went out. A lot of people got those first round bills that are not used to paying taxes, a lot of these nonprofits and whatnot. And some of them threw them in the garbage because they get a bill from the Horry County, assessor's office, or whoever sends them out, and they didn't pay any attention to them. Well, they are responsible to pay the stormwater fee. So those that got late notices, most of them paid it, but there's one in particular who didn't want to pay it. And so that's why it was a topic of conversation at the council meeting.
I didn't know that.
And I think they decided to not excuse them from paying, so they will have to pay that late fee.
Good example.
The amount of.
Yeah, well, you don't want to start going down that road.
Yeah.
'Cause then you got to do it for everybody. Additionally, I'll say that we had, this past weekend, we had some dead ocean fish carcasses dumped in Dogwood Lake. I don't know if any of you heard about that.
No.
There was several small sharks, triggerfish, and another type of fish from the ocean. Someone caught them and cleaned them and dumped the carcasses in Dogwood Lake, up by the Cedar Drive causeway there. And people complained about it. We had to go get them out of there
When was that?
over the weekend.
Oh.
Like Saturday, I think it was.
I didn't even hear anything about that.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't have probably, I got a call at home and I had it taken care of, but people, need to, not do that, as you know.
Do you think it's people who, it's sort of familiar to me. And if you go to fish in Alaska, you have to clean your fish and throw its entrails in the water
Yeah.
there where you catch it. You can't take it home and address your fish. You have to do it at the actual
At the dock, yeah.
location where you, yeah. And I'm wondering if folks, because they're ocean fish, maybe they thought they could dump it in any water. But
Yeah, that occurred to me, but, yeah, we had some
because
complaints
you don't know who
about it.
did it, right? You
No.
don't have any
No,
idea.
it was just, you know,
And never will.
we never will. We never will.
It probably never happened
But
again.
you're still getting questions about the stormwater fees and people fighting. Good.
No, I think it's pretty well, it's settled now, thank goodness. We've had to add, this year, we added the new gas station and the new Plantation Resort property that was renovated in 2020. We had the stormwater fee calculated for their properties, and they're now being billed starting this year for those properties.
And other jurisdictions, I'll call it, are raising their stormwater fees. I was surprised at that. A couple of them have announced an increase, so
Yeah.
that should open us up in a year or two to do the same
Yeah.
if we need.
Well, that's why we went where we went to the $82
Right.
ERU, so we wouldn't have to really come back to it for quite a while.
For
You
at
know,
least a few years.
Horry County was only like 30 some odd dollars a couple of years ago. So they had a couple of increases scheduled. North Myrtle's pretty high already.
Yeah, we were pretty much in the middle with that anyway.
Yeah. Most people were in the $70, $80 range.
That was one of the questions I wanted to ask during the stormwater fee discussion. If you were familiar with the discussions that have been going on with the Stormwater Quality Advisory Committee, because I went to the meeting, not this last time, but the time before, and they had a big presentation, which I brought a copy of it here, of their increase justification and proposal. And that they have a lot of people lined up to already working on stormwater issues alone for Horry County. And then they want to increase the fees because they believe they have coverage for this fiscal year, but not for the next fiscal year with the big ticket items that they've got coming down the pipeline. So I'm not sure if you can let us know, how does this impact us? Because some of the projects they talked about were projects in Surfside Beach. So
I'll have to get caught up on that. I'm not familiar with it.
yeah, let me see if I find it here.
Yeah, I know they just raised they just voted for the impact fees, but that didn't apply to their stormwater
Yeah.
fund.
They were talking about raising the stormwater fee in the same conversation, Bill. I didn't read any of the details, so.
Yeah, they had a graphics of all of South Carolina and all of the county. And then they went through describing some of the last couple of activities that they did, and they had one or two listed for Surfside Beach, the Yaupon Drive Pipe Project.
Yaupon Drive.
Yeah, Yaupon Drive Pipe Project.
That's not the Yaupon Drive in Garden City, is it?
No, they specifically identified it, because I thought so too, and they
Yeah,
put
that's a town road. I think
Surfside Beach down.
I'll have to inquire from the stormwater department what that's about.
Yeah, and in there, we're in part of District 5. We're in District 5. So they had a total of 70 projects. Some of them are in District 5 completed so far for their stormwater areas. So I was just curious throughout this whole conversation if this was somehow going to impact our fee and what our activities are and whether or not there's a sharing.
Some of the things we do.
Yeah, no, I'd happy to look into that. That document that you have there is from their website, maybe?
This was presented at their meeting by the stormwater manager. And he had
Yeah, all right, I'll give him a call and I'll find out.
Yeah, he had a presentation where he went over these documents and he outlined what was being considered for a raising of the fee. So he had charts and graphs of the completed service requests and the orders that they've completed. He went into detail about beaver complaints and mosquito complaints. All of that is part of stormwater as well. But he is talking about the entire county, including Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, and Surfside Beach.
Yeah, I'll email the committee and let them know what he tells me. If there's anything within the town boundaries that we need to be looking at, because I have not heard.
Okay. Their last meeting was July 14th. I couldn't attend, unfortunately. And their next one is September 22nd. And it doesn't, you go on their webpage and they don't give you the minutes. They don't give you a copy of the minutes, or I don't know if they record it. So you really don't have a chance to go back and take a look at whatever they discussed or whatever decisions they may have made. You know, it's not available. So
Yeah, I think I believe they used to post everything online, and I think they just got behind on that. They're no longer recording them because they were concerned about access to like Zoom and it not being appropriately shared. But they're happy to share documents. I found
they have a link for the minutes. You get on there and it's nothing. It doesn't take you to the minutes
Mhm.
of the meetings. They also don't have a chance to get the handouts, which
yeah.
is what I was really trying to get a hold of in preparation for this meeting about a month ago. But I just happened to be there. So one of the other people who received them gave me this portion. So I can glad to share with you, John. But
Yeah, well, I'll call the stormwater manager and
mhm.
hopefully this afternoon even, and I'll ask him, what list of items you have around here.
Yeah, I'll just give you this and you can take it.
Okay, yeah, I'll
Notes and
read off of it.
I hope to attend the next one, so
Okay, good.
we'll keep up with it.
Good.
Okay.
And the last thing I want to share with everybody is, in my latest stormwater management plan revision, which I sent to DHEC recently, and I'm getting ready to send my 2020 annual report in, I want to focus more on the IDDE aspects, which is the illicit discharge detection. We've done some upstream tracking for bacteria.
Mhm.
And one of the things in my conversations with DHEC, that I need to do a lot more in the way of documenting our inspections. So if we have outfalls, if we have canals in town that you'd want to take a look at once in a while to see if there's any illicit discharge, any oils or any discoloration or something that shouldn't be, I can use non-town employees to do that and just fill out a form and send it back to me. And my question would the committee be interested in, like, maybe, every couple of months, looking at a specific canal or, any part of any segment of our stormwater system that may be vulnerable, where there might be, you're looking for dry weather flows that shouldn't be there, or discoloration, just putting some check marks on an inspection form and sending it in to me. Because when I send my annual reports in, they want to see all these inspections. And he said, well, if you have a stormwater committee, maybe they'll be able to, you give a stack of forms to them, say, okay, if you can look at, the canal over on 10th Avenue South, and if you can look at the one over here, every other month, and just fill out the form and send it to me. And then if there's something that needs to be followed up on, we can go out there and try to trace it. But a lot of this stuff is.
You're just looking for visuals?
Yeah, just visual inspection, nothing, no testing or anything like that. And, I know the committee is always looking for things to do.
Yeah, if you think that'd be useful,
help
I
me
think
out.
that'd be something with.
Well,
I think,
it would, because,
we could probably work that in.
our MS4 permit, there's a lot more, with the phase 2 permit, there's a lot more documentation required, more than I've done in the past. And so rather than take up staff's time doing it, you only really have to inspect certain things once a year, every 6 months. So if we were doing it quarterly or something like that, I
You
don't.
could do it monthly. You would like to see the variations. wouldn't you?
Yeah, so if we could figure out like 4 or 5 hot spots that you'd really want to know if there was, something coming off a commercial area or something like that.
Well, Myrtle Lake, you'd want to trace everything back and look at every one of those things.
Yeah, you'd want to be closer to the commercial areas.
commercial areas coming into
things
that.
like that. So just take a look at, and then we could have the inspector name, anything, check marks, anything observed, yes, no, was the water clear, cloudy?
If we tell Ken about this, he'll want to run out with the meters.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ken would be excited to
Yeah.
be chief detective, so.
Yeah, so if I produced a form that was easy to use,
Yeah.
would the committee be interested in taking on some of that? Just documentation,
What do you think, Kara?
Okay, so 4 yeses.
Okay.
We got the gold star award or whatever they do.
All right,
when
yeah,
all
'cause I
4
think
of
that
them are-
would be helpful. There's a lot of stuff we are documenting, but certain things that I had once per cycle, they come and do an audit of my program, and that was one of the, he says, you need to document more. Yeah, even though we're doing everything, but they want to see paper. When you send your annual report in, they want to see reams of paper
Yes.
emailed to them.
I think on the Stormwater Advisory Committee's webpage, it has a link you can to report an incident
Mm-hmm.
that's stormwater related.
Yeah, that's one of the requirements of our permit is a method for ours is just called Public Works, but the more sophisticated the municipality, that they're gonna have
Yes.
various ways. You can, there's some municipalities have apps that you can, there's a button you hit on your app and you can report a problem to a stormwater hotline.
Oh,
Well, I like this because we're only 2 miles
Yeah,
long and it's more personable.
yeah.
And you get to go out and talk to people when they see you and they want to know what you're doing. You can talk more stormwater
Yeah.
education to them as
Yeah.
well.
So if I have a list of, say 10 places in town that are like key points that need to be looked at on a regular basis, if I can get each of you to adopt like 1 or 2 of them, I think I can solve that documentation problem.
you can just ask Victoria, we've got more volunteer monitors than we can use right now.
Yes.
Yeah, I was
I'm
hoping.
basically sitting on the bench because they don't need me back. They've
Not
got more than
anymore.
enough even.
That's what
And
we've been,
one of
that's
us
what we've
is
been
even going
telling
to
you.
Garden City, right? So,
Yeah, so that would be helpful to me
Yeah.
to meet our responsibilities.
Yeah.
And I'll generate a form that's easy to understand and that makes sense, town logo on it, and I'll email it out to the whole committee and with a list. Then as you do the inspections, just drop off the form, email it to me, whatever, however you want to get it to me.
Yeah.
And then I'll keep a file, and then when I do my annual report, I'll just scan them all in. This way-
John, I also see opportunity to involve the engineering students as like y'all be like the team leads to visit these sites, but then send the undergrads out into the canals if they need to do anything.
Yeah, maybe to go upstream and look for
Sounds like
point
they're
sources.
hauling.
Yeah,
That'd be helpful.
if you needed like,
If you have a red flag form, that there's a problem form, or a flag form, they call it, then we can have the students try to track it.
Mhm.
In addition to our testing, as you know, we did some additional upstream testing
Yep.
from the Myrtle system.
Sounds like a winner.
But we never really got it all the way up there and found it.
No, we never
Still
found it.
irks me. So,
Yeah, the smoking gun hasn't been found yet.
Yeah.
And our numbers haven't been that bad this summer
Oh, no.
yet where there's a need to dive deep into it. Our ocean numbers have been pretty good, and I think our volunteer numbers have been pretty good so far this year. And even the turbidity's come down in Dogwood lately. But when if you remember, what we did find last year was the hottest leg coming into Myrtle Lake was not where you might otherwise think it would be, from the dog park side or from the Dogwood Lake connection. It was from the upland area of the Myrtle Basin, which is around here.
Yep.
And up between First Avenue, Surfside
City
Drive,
Hall
Yeah,
somewhere.
a couple bucks either way.
fire department, like all in here. So it makes you wonder, where is the source of bacteria coming from? If you got a number of like 10,000 right down the block from the,
Well, our joke was
Sundown.
everybody that sells alcohol is a source of this stuff, so.
well, it makes you think that there might be an illicit connection somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
And it's
Well,
really-
that's what's fun though. Everybody wants to run down the illicit sources. That's what they love.
Yeah, it's difficult to do. I did a training video earlier today with half of my staff about IDDE,
Really?
which I borrowed from Ahmed. Thank you very much. I'm doing it again tomorrow with the other half of my staff. And I tell the story that sometimes you have illicit connections that you just aren't aware.
Mhm.
Some of them are intentional and some of them are unintentional. We had one a couple of years ago where one of my crews that were doing catch basin cleaning, they called me and said that there's steam coming out of a catch basin. Now, why would there be steam coming out of a catch basin? Well, it turns out that the hotel that was next to the catch basin had an illegal connection from their laundry room into the storm drain
Wow.
in the parking lot, which was connected to our storm drains in the street,
Wow.
which was connected to the swash out to the ocean. So through letters and meetings with the corporate people, they found where it was coming from, and they capped it back to their sanitary system. So that's somebody did that intentionally at one point in time, but we got it stopped. It was probably going on for 25 years. Another one that was unintentional, we had a cross connection behind Krabby Mike's a couple of years ago, where their sewer line coming out of the back of their building was crossing through a stormwater catch basin box. And because of all that brine water that was coming out from the fish and all that, it rotted away the metal pipe. So raw sewage was getting into the stormwater system, which was making its way down eventually to the Elizabeth and Dogwood system. But that was reported by a citizen in those apartments back there that they smelled sewage. So, we just tracked it and opened up lids and looked and looked and looked. Finally, we found what it was, and then the line was replaced. But, these illicit connections, they're out there. They're out there. We find things doing our maintenance all the time.
There are patterns. When I worked with solvents for a while and dry cleaning solvents, there's problems all over the country, hundreds of them now, where shop owners would distill their solvents every Saturday night because they were only closed on Sunday. And they would take all the gunk that came out of the bottom and just dump it in the backyard or the project, not even in the drain many times. And then that whole little town that they lived in would have a contaminated water system. Some of them 60, 70, 80 years later are still running the pumps, trying to get it out. They have to bring in water from the outside. So there's all these kind of habitual things that will occur once a week or once a month, depending on different operations. And they're the hardest things to find because they're spikes that you don't see. And that's why when we get these huge spikes, it always occurs to me there's somebody dumping something somewhere on a periodic basis.
Well, it's odd to me, and I don't know, there probably is no relationship. Maybe the scientists can answer this. This area up here around the town hall complex, there was a large fuel leak back in the 90s, I think it was. I think there was a gas station over here by where the liquor store is around there. And there are active monitoring wells all around this area, up to 3rd Avenue South, all the way to Poplar, on this side of Town Hall Complex, that DHEC still monitors to this day because there's still fuel on the ground.
You can smell it.
And I'm wondering, since this leg is the hottest leg going down the Myrtle Lake, is there any relationship at all between fuel and bacteria? I wouldn't think so.
Does it
But it's
feed
kind of
bacteria?
interesting how two things are existing in the same place.
Yeah, I cannot answer that right now, but that's a good thing for us to look into. I
Let's
don't
put
know.
the engineering students on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there, because you can go into the fire department parking lot on a rainy day, and you
Yes,
can smell the
you can
diesel
smell it,
fuel
yeah.
in the ground coming up from that drain.
You can.
Uh-huh.
And what I'm wondering is if
So if this same area of town is generating the bacteria, not every day, but a lot,
Yeah, but
is there any relationship between the two?
not demonstrably on a regular basis, just periodic.
Yeah, what does it depend on? Or does somebody in one of these ditch systems have an illicit connection that they can turn open and close? I don't know.
John, Susan would like to talk. Is she's on there now, or should I put her back on?
Probably put it back.
Put her back
All
on.
right. She quickly answered no between fuel and bacteria. So
Okay,
let's see
good.
what she.
Well,
But
I knew they'd have the answer.
Hi, I think I'm also on GoToMeeting.
Susan, are you muted on GoToMeeting?
A really good idea to try to sample out of the groundwater wells to see if you can intercept bacteria that way. But I don't think the source is going to be the same. It's just the conveyance pathway that may be the same. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's using the same groundwater channels to get where.
Yeah, that.
Okay, but it wouldn't be a source of bacteria.
or a feeder for bacteria.
Yeah, make it grow or anything like that.
Wait, okay, now I'm hooked up again.
That's good.
So yeah, I think I heard what you said, John, that I can't see how a source would be the same there, that you had a fuel oil leak from a tank, but the bacteria are coming from something else, like the birds roosting on the parking lots up there, or dog waste, or again, a broken sewer line. And the bacteria have migrated into the groundwater and now are being carried along on the same pathway as the fuel oil. But it does present an interesting opportunity for you to get a sample to check for bacteria in. The only complication I can see to that is that if there's still a bunch of fuel oil left in the groundwater, it may be toxic to the bacteria, so the water effectively is sterilized. The other thing is that the presence of the oil may interfere with the detection of the bacteria in the lab test that is required. But it certainly would be interesting. It seems easy enough if DHEC's got the wells out there to get them to draw some samples and test them for bacteria. Or if they're not willing to do it, ask them to give the water to you, and you can do the test with the supplies that Victoria has been giving you to do the source tracking.
Okay.
So Ken could give it a shot, but
Yeah.
that if you smell fuel oil in there, I wouldn't touch the samples, because you may have a hazardous waste situation and you don't want to expose anybody to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, from what I'm told, it's fairly, there's plenty of fuel still on the ground.
So all these years later, they're still detecting high levels?
Yes, as of about 4 or 5 years ago, when I last spoke to the DHEC person in Columbia who was in charge of this, they said, yeah, that's still an active case. They're still pulling pretty much straight fuel out of the ground.
Oh, that's terrible.
27 odd years later.
They don't have any more aggressive plans to clean this up?
No,
Don't they have a continuous recycle and cleanup going right now? They pump water out, clean it up, put it back in.
I don't know if that's the case.
I thought that was what I was told, but I may be
Yeah,
wrong.
I have to, it's been a few years since I spoke to that division of DHEC about this, and I'll bring it up again. Let me write this down. I'll call them up and see what the status of this
Okay.
is, if it's still active, and if so,
Maybe they can come talk to us later.
maybe.
Well, let's see. See what the next.
Thankfully.
This is more fun than normal business.
I would never have thought that happened.
Call for status. All right, I'll check the status of it and I'll report it to the committee. Because it's been a few years since I got an update on it anyway. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and that's really it. I'll get these IDDE inspection forms out to you all, and I'll get a list of the probably best spots to check. You know, it's probably less than a dozen, and we'll just put it on a rotation. You know, a couple people want to take half of them, a couple people want to take the other half of them, or each person takes a couple.
Let me ask one more question in these projects, and that when we get to talking about the festival, I still would like to lay out a chart of all our projects that we plan and tentative, like vague dates of when they're going to be done based on funding, costs, and opportunity to put in front of people when they walk past our booths, because people get a lot of questions. We could also use it in an article in the newspaper if we felt like we wanted to put it out that much in the public. And I'm just curious, can we do that now? I know we've had so many questions back and forth about what things cost and when we can do it. Can we lay out a list of like a next 3 years worth of stormwater projects?
Well, we could. I mean, it'd be a small list. You know, this coming, we budgeted for this coming, I'm going to bid out this coming fall/winter.
The north side?
The north side drainage project, the next phase of that.
But you can put into that, that'll include this,
Yeah.
this street and that. So so that people
Yeah, but
see
see,
what.
I want to be cautious about, we're going to bid out, say, 4 streets,
Mhm.
and we're going to have them bid on them individually. So
Okay.
depending on the funding that's available, we may be able to do 3 of them.
But we can put them up, these are our priorities, we're bidding,
Yeah, yeah.
and we'll do
I just
what
don't
we
want
can
to get
afford.
into, raise
No
expectations.
commitments.
So
Well,
it's
yeah.
basically looks like this, because this came out of your handout.
Yes,
report,
exactly.
Yeah.
Where he lists and the
Yeah.
cost, estimated cost, but and then you have attachments are maps of where they are or more description.
Yeah, that's in that PowerPoint. Yeah.
So this could be taken from the PowerPoint and put into a poster or
Yeah, but we could
handout.
also put that it be done in 2022-or-23 funding dependent.
Funding
As you put them
cycle.
if you put them in
Right.
priority order, you can explain that pretty easily, that we'll go as far as we can
Sure.
with the money.
There's lake dredging on the horizon.
Yes.
There's,
Well, that's huge.
there's
You almost put that on.
two different phases of the north side project.
You aren't gonna do lake dredging out of the stormwater fee though, are you? I mean, it's too much money, right?
Well,
You'd be 10 years paying for it out of the stormwater fee.
yeah, there might be some grant money to be had
Oh, okay,
for that as well.
okay.
Um,
We could do it large projects, small projects too, and so that people can see it. I'm just thinking that we need to communicate this out. The stormwater fee has gotten a lot of attention. People are still talking about it a little bit. Nobody's upset anymore because they know it's here to stay. But they still talk about it, what it's doing. So I think it's a good thing to get out in front. I don't know how to structure it in a way that allows us to wiggle out of any commitments if we can't afford it. But that would be a major thing to do, not overpromise.
And I did put the Carolina Clear fact sheet about IDDE, just to
Yeah.
finish up that
Oh, good.
on the website,
Oh, okay.
under the stormwater page.
I might suggest on your list
Try
of
to really-
projects, you continue however far out it takes to have projects in all areas of Surfside.
Thank you.
So, if those people who live on Melody Lane won't feel like all that's happening is on 12th Avenue North or something. But you might have a 5-year list instead.
Yeah.
Just, people do get petty about, I want, yeah.
Then
I
you're
want
gonna,
my street done, I don't care about yours, I want my
Yeah,
street.
well, and you're right, but the beauty of the fee is that everybody benefits from everything that we do. Everybody benefits from.
you could also have a list of future projects yet to be scheduled.
Yeah.
So that you would be able to, I agree with the idea that
Oh,
it's
sure.
nice if people can see that we've got a 10-year plan of projects, and here's a whole list of after 3 years, what we might consider funding other
Well,
things.
the list, it's an unlimited list, really, because once my large projects are behind me, there's a lot of things in town that I want to attack that there's just never been funding for before, so ditch piping and this, bulkhead replacements on the beach, and there's a lot of things that we've never been able to do before that we'll be able to do as the years move along, but
Some of those are more public works than stormwater though, right?
well, they're all stormwater.
Are they?
It would have to do with the fee, absolutely, the stormwater.
The bulkheads would be considered?
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, oh, yeah.
We might have what we hope to be
You know,
able to do in the future.
I tried to, and I'm still not done, but I tried to have the county even participate in the Dogwood Swash
Yeah.
bill, that we're gonna wind up with a little bit of the cost in our fee, because in my view, that should qualify for some cost sharing with the county based on our 70-30 agreement we have with them. And they are maintaining that it's a road project, and I'm maintaining it's a stormwater project, because they don't want to pay anything.
But the water, well, some of that at least is coming from them.
Yeah, just like I'm fighting with Grand Strand Water and Sewer about this water main change. They're saying it was a relocation due to our construction project, which entitles them to a certain amount of money from us.
But it was a little pipe.
Yeah, my contention is it's a betterment project of your system, which is exempt from
Which
that.
means money should be flowing back to us,
So-
yes.
So
They ran right by
I fight
my
with people all day long.
And I watched them put it in, I think, well, that's a water line because of its size, you
Yeah.
know? And I go down there and they say, no, this is a sewer line. And I'm going, I didn't know they made sewer lines that big around. It was a little bitty.
They do in New York.
Yeah, we replaced the 4-inch water main crossing and the 12-inch.
Yeah.
That's why. 2 different water lines. The sewer line didn't get touched. There is a sewer line, but it wasn't.
So that was a water line that came down forward.
I'm sorry?
there was, what they were telling me was they were running.
Oh, you mean the other work, not the swash work, the stuff they're doing in town?
They told me that, they came by my house and they told me
Yeah,
that,
sewer work they were doing.
yeah, they were putting in the sewer line, but the line's tiny. I was thinking, is that a sewer line?
Yeah, they have all different
Yeah,
sizes.
they must.
Yeah.
So, but
Four,
yeah,
they have-
and then I found out it's tied to that dogwood wash.
Yeah, they have force mains and they
Yeah,
have,
yeah.
you know, various things that are pumped.
So back to the barbecue festival, were we talking about a poster or a handout type for
I
distribution?
was talking about getting a list and then seeing what we could do with it. So
Oh, okay.
Poster, I
You know,
think.
you hadn't
Otherwise-
gotten to the poster or handout phase yet. Yeah.
if we're going to get down to we gotta have to go past the Surfside Town Council
Sure.
stormwater issues
Sure.
before we get to this, but I was just jumping ahead so I could get everybody thinking about that.
Okay.
So sorry, illegal maneuver. All right. John, you have anything else you want?
No, that's about all I have to report.
All right, good. Are you fully staffed with people?
I'm short one sanitation guy right now,
Okay. All right.
but
Yeah, you guys are hustling and doing good work. I'll say that. We just have lots of compliments about the guy who runs the big horseshoe pickup truck.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
the
Ben,
friendliest,
your
best guy in the
yeah.
world. Yeah, okay. Let's go to if this is yours, if you don't mind, since you have such a direct contact with town council meetings. So.
Okay, let's see which one. I did cover the stormwater advisory board earlier, so that was one of my items there, but
Okay.
we wanted to go over, I had I think I mentioned earlier before the meeting started that the last town council meeting brought up the tree ordinance
Yep.
2017 revision. And Carol Coleman was there to represent the planning commission. And it was initially thought she was going to do a first reading of what was being introduced as the revision to the ordinance. But unfortunately, according to requirements, the planning commission must do a public workshop with their proposed changes to the ordinance. And until they do that, they really can't do a first reading. So in the course of the discussion, I was going back and forth. I remember Cindy Keating, the councilwoman, said she wanted more than one committee to take a look at the ordinance and to make changes, and she recommended the stormwater committee. So I don't know if anybody has spoken to you, John, about participating in this, because I made a note of it. And Carol, you were at the meeting as well, the town council meeting. Pardon?
I lost my cool a little bit. Yeah,
No, that's okay.
I am a tree hugger.
I totally get that. I
Yeah.
think the big problem that was coming across to me, I've been participating remotely to the planning commission discussions with Carol Coleman and the committee. And they only picked one or two items to change in the ordinance and mostly to return it back to what I believe was written in the 2017 revision before it was voted into final. Because parts of it was removed helter-skelter in a way before it was voted on. So a lot of the deeper detailed explanations of what you do or clarity that may have been there for what you are required to do got removed. And now it's just created an opportunity for developers to do clear cutting a lot more easily. So I am not as familiar with the details of the ordinance. I went on site recently and pulled up from elaws.us, the Surfside Beach Ordinance, Chapter 17, and its Division 2 on tree protection. I'm not sure if they're going to be asking us to read the ordinance and to provide input into it, but another idea is that we ask the folks at CCU who can help us with this because, and plus we can get in touch with Carol Coleman to find out what we originally thought we were going to write a support statement of sorts to the planning commission about the importance of trees, but in the commission discussions, they clearly do think trees are important and that stormwater is important too. So I think that's the next step, is to find out what it is that we're being asked to do, if we're being asked to do anything.
Well, I brought this up at our last meeting here. And that's when I learned from you, John, that because I was at some
most of the meetings, not the initial meetings of the tree committee. And specific things like palm trees were only going to be counted, and lots 35 feet wide, you could use 2 palm trees on either side of the driveway because that's all they could handle. And instead, we've got palm trees everywhere instead of hardwoods. I was critical of, at the time, of some of the members of the tree committee, because at one of the meetings, it was,
When you say
became
tree committee, you're referring to who?
the group that was writing the ordinance back then, because I don't know if that was planning, it was, what the name of the group was, but the group that was writing the ordinance, because not a single person in the group knew the cost of replacing an oak tree or a hardwood. They didn't know the cost of anything. And they were recommending replacing a 10-inch oak with a 10-inch oak. And it was like, but you also explained last time, or said, just commented briefly that, because I said, how did it change from the time the committee at their last meeting had these very exacting specifications of what counts as 5 trees? And I really don't think the 5 trees is the best way to look at it, but, and you said that it got changed by council. And that's in 2017.
Yeah, the former administrator at the time and a council person in particular, which I'm not going to name,
Yeah,
got a hold of it.
it was very
and
disappointing
watered
to
it
learn
down.
that.
That's
Yeah.
what happened, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
it was very disappointing. Because, well, the group worked on it long and hard. I wasn't a worker. I was just sitting in the audience listening to them. But I thought that must have been very disheartening at the time. But I mean, I've got a gorgeous house, the one next door to me that went up. 3-story house, complete with elevator and everything. And they've got 4 palm trees and that miserable pine in front. And 2 of the palm trees are dying instead of having any hardwoods. And the builder told me, I can put a palm tree in for 3 1/4. Hardwood's going to cost me thousands. And the city says it's okay. So,
That's it.
yeah.
I get it. I'd be happy to work on it with our committee if we were asked to make recommendations or to just a letter of support, whatever is required, but under the law, Chapter 17 is a responsibility of the planning commission to make
Yeah.
recommendations to council.
Well, it's changing the looks, the look of our community. I remember when I first moved here, somebody back in Birmingham looked up my address and they said, you live in a forest. And I thought, if they Googled it now, the 2 lots next to me are almost empty, well, much empty. So we're changing from the tree city so terribly
Oh, yeah.
quickly.
There was a time when contractors were sat down with and arranged the footprint of the house to accommodate trees. That's no longer being done.
When I know it's difficult, but
Sure.
I mean, my next door new neighbors put in bird nests, houses. And I thought, birds don't even go in their neighborhood because in their lot, there's only 4 palm trees to sit on, and they don't go in there. So I'm worried about Surfside's image and the way we take care of our wildlife and everything else changing is what really is my worry. So much. See, I just get too agitated about this. Sorry.
Well, I think in terms of the tree ordinance, we need, and I'm perfectly happy to do this, to go back, listen to the minutes for the last meeting, because Sherry told me they've just been completed, and see what the heck we're possibly being asked to do or not, because my ears perked up thinking that this was a discussion between council and planning commission, and then all of a sudden I hear the stormwater committee. And it's like, what is it they want us to do, or why are we being mentioned? But anyway, there's that's for the next step, is to find out if
But
if
just-
we're supposed to have something.
Just to be clear, the planning commission are the ones that have to bring forward things. So if we as a committee on our own, without any invitation, want to put in our thoughts as to what we think tree planting should do for the benefit of stormwater, I think we ought to go ahead and do it.
Okay.
Would you like to?
I agree.
Yeah.
All along, we had talked last time about preparing a statement to encourage that land, that the ordinance create an importance of trees. They do discuss this in the planning commission meeting.
Did you all get that attachment I sent
We
you
did.
all with the links on it?
Oh,
It was great.
Yes, I've
There's
got,
some good stuff in there.
That got me excited. Because before, all you could say is, I like trees and I
Yeah.
want more.
Yeah,
Now
there's-
you've
there's-
got some
there's
data
a lot
that
of
says.
resources in there that
Yeah.
you can
Yes.
quantify things with.
I printed it all out, including the
I
links.
couldn't get my printer to work, but I'm going to
Yeah,
print
Well,
it out.
mine only does it in black and white. I don't even have color
Yeah.
yet, but
Some of it
this gave me a lot of hope because it's like, there's lots of information in here that could come out of, if anything, to pair up with what's probably in the language of the ordinance to help with. But, and I think it's probably a good opportunity to engage with some of the folks in CCU if you can recommend who to go to or whom to ask to help iron out the path with making it clear and whatnot.
Yeah, we could connect y'all. And I think off the top of my head, I would say Clemson Extension would have more experience with trees. But we'll connect you that way.
Okay,
If we can get data that we can give to them about the density of trees and the types of trees and the benefits, that we can quantify it in a way that isn't political or I'm a tree hugger or anything else, and get it in there. I've never been able to find anything. I enjoyed what I was reading, what you said. It seems like it's really
Yeah, I mean, Clemson
quantitative.
Extension has in the past come
Yeah.
to town meetings and talked about things like trees. Ben Powell, I don't know if he's still around. Is Ben Powell still around?
I believe so. I believe he's now in charge of bees down in Charleston.
Okay. yeah,
yes, he is.
He
Yes,
used to come and talk about
the bee
trees
guy.
and wetlands a lot.
Okay.
And also the Francis from the SC Forestry Commission has come and spoke before.
Yeah, somewhere in that pack of presentations you sent out there, I run across a picture of an oak tree with a big sign right next to it on a stake. And the sign said something like, this tree costs this much. This tree caused this lot to be worth $93 more. This tree saved this much water. This tree saved this many birds. This tree did this, 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 and this.
That's pretty cool.
And I'm thinking, that's cool if you could just come up with that sort of, I don't know how they got the statistics, it absorbed this much water. It produced this much oxygen. It produced this much carbon dioxide, all that stuff. That'd be cool to interface with our outreach,
Mhm.
It'd be cool to present it to the planning commission and
Could-
say,
could
this
put
is
some
why we
signs up.
advocate tree
It's in here.
density at this
Parks
level
and
or
say-
better.
It's in, stuff like that is in here.
it's in there.
It
Yeah.
has
it
the
is.
type of tree species,
Mhm.
how much water it drinks up, how long it takes for the conductivity with the water level and how many inches per hour, that kind of thing. And so maybe by having some help with Clemson or on a similar group, they can read the ordinance. We can collect the criticisms as well, because some people are very upset about the clear cutting. Does that need to happen? They're very upset with the confusion between having 5 trees versus 60-inch diameter total and then it may make a difference between what zoned area it's in, zoned 1 through 3, whether you have pine trees or not, and whether you have hardwoods or not. And then there's certain hardwoods that could be more encouraged, like the Birch River hardwoods, which are extremely well known for soaking up a lot of water if you have a location that's basically lower than the lowest topography of the county or the city. So I think if we can have some expertise, take a look at what's written in the ordinance, what are the criticism, and then see if they can address it to create more clarity. And especially our focus is stormwater. I'm not sure that we need to get into a lot of this other stuff like landscaping costs and all that other stuff so much. But
I think that if people realized how much it helps suck up the water when we have these big rainstorms, that's,
there's
to me,
also the
the
potential for
primary.
other green options. Like it may not be your lot's big enough for a tree, but you could put a rain garden. You could put a diverting stormwater with semi-pervious pavements that can absorb the water. You can set it up so that there's a buildup, a bunker or a bulkhead or something, or a swash, or there's other options.
Legislate rain gardens and things like that, pavers, that people must
Encourage,
do it. You have to have some way of laying out a plan that says, and if you say, a hemlock is worth 1 point and a oak is worth 4 points and that kind of stuff, you might feel comfortable with the system, but it gets so complicated. People say, the
Well-
town's telling me what to do.
In
So
the
we have to get
ordin,
an
but in the
expert to tell us
ordinance,
How to do this. We really do.
correct. But in the ordinance, you can, there is wiggle room, and this was also discussed at the planning commission. There is wiggle room that if a lot doesn't accommodate planting trees, they could potentially negotiate credit to have, okay, if you can't or won't put in trees for whatever reason, like, I don't know, the roots grow into the swimming pool or whatever. There are other options they may look at that could create credit for a water absorption that would help with the stormwater aspect of developing that property. So I think it needs to be in the language of the ordinance that you can look
Yeah.
at or
Yeah,
have.
the tree mitigation fund they have for things like that, but the impetus for that is it has to be so expensive that it's better to, way cheaper to put a tree in than to just buy your way out of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So the only section, the good news, I think, is the ordinance is a big ordinance that I looked at, but the only section I think we're really needing to focus in is the area that's called the tree protection division 2, which is tree protection. So that's an area that really seems to focus in on the stormwater aspect of what we're looking at. And then I know I'm going to go back and listen to the notes, read the notes and then listen to the video for the last town council meeting to see if I can get a clearer understanding of what direction council is looking at with this tree ordinance. And if there is any way to, perhaps it's best to hook up with the planning commission and throw everything at them so that they can then go before council. That might be another option.
I was told by somebody, and I don't know if it's accurate, that the planning commission is not fully manned now,
I don't know.
to the point where it's, somebody in the audience was leaning forward, telling me, saying, the planning commission isn't even operating right 100% now because it's so understaffed.
I don't think so. They got way more members than we do.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
Maybe that was
Yeah.
somebody who
Some
was,
of us griping about
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a few members that have gone on vacation, so they weren't at one of the meetings and
when
stuff, but
vacations
that's,
happen, yeah.
yeah, but I think they have way more members than we do.
Okay, we're gonna run out of time. So what's our path forward on this?
So by the next meeting, if not beforehand, we should know a little better on where our relationship should fit in with this tree ordinance revision. So it's looking at the last town council meetings and making a few phone calls to find out what are the process, if any. Is the planning commission expecting to get in touch with us? That kind of stuff.
Well, they're going to have a hearing. That was
Workshop?
announced,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it
Or a public hearing. yeah,
public
yeah,
hearing
yeah.
coming up, and
probably won't be until like September.
yeah,
Yes,
But
that's what they said. September.
I intend to be there, but
Yeah,
I think it's open. I don't know, since it's already July.
yeah.
Is Carol Coleman in charge of the tree ordinance in some way?
She's been working as the staff person from the planning commission as the voice in coordinating all efforts with the planning commission. And she came to represent the planning commission at the last town council meeting.
Would we want to contact Carol Coleman and say, we as the
We can-
Stormwater Committee we will take a couple of months to do it, but if they would, that we would like to send some recommendations on the tree ordinance
Mhm.
based on stormwater considerations.
Yeah,
Okay, would you like me to do that?
sure.
Okay,
You want to go ahead and read or listen to the last town meeting? That's on, I think it'll be posted online,
I can.
and then give her
It
a
is.
call.
Not my favorite thing to listen to.
Don't
You
be
can
embarrassed.
Are
probably
they not
speak.
contentious anymore? They
Oh,
used to
oh,
be.
yes. And I
Yeah.
didn't contribute, I didn't help
I
them
just
with
couldn't
that.
stand that.
The last meeting had more people than at any other meeting this year, and it was a combination, the tree ordinance and a couple of other things that were bringing people. But real quickly, we should go to the discussion of the, well, we still have time, but the October 2nd Fall Festival,
Yes.
if you want to cover that one.
Yeah, the Fall Festival is on October 2nd. It'll be the same as usual. It's a 10 to 4 meeting. And if we're lucky, we can start breaking down at 3:30. And I used to try to get there at 9, but John and almost everybody else who runs a booth didn't show up till 9:30. So that's when I show up now. I like to be there early in case I can help set up something. And we usually have some pieces of equipment like jars of goop just to get people's attention. And I may do that again if we want to.
Oh, the kids love that.
Oh, they did love it.
Yeah.
But we like the giveaways, which is John's department, and I know you have lots left over, and anything we can get. Do you want to go ahead and just get some of those, or do you have any thoughts about that? I want to talk about pamphlets to hand out, giveaways, all right, and any featured things that we want to promote or discuss with people. And one of those for discuss with them, I'm proposing it, not dictating it, is to have some list of stormwater fee improvement projects.
Okay.
That's somewhere we should have. That's A. B, giveaways, you always had such a great job doing that. Are we being kicked out now? Oh, okay. All righty. Giveaways, you've always done so well. Do you mind doing it again?
No, not at all.
Okay, yeah, you do. The kids love the little things that we give away.
Yeah.
And if
The
we don't do
adults
that,
too.
well, yeah, some of the adults steal them all. Do we need to order more of the, there's no such thing as
Poop
a
fairy.
poop fairy?
Yeah, I think I have enough magnets, I have the keychains that
Yeah.
came in.
Okay, we've got plenty of time now,
Yeah,
but,
and I'll get some other to do that to give out.
okay.
I think
Halloween
the,
related.
And then
Dog
handouts.
biscuits too.
Handouts, we have been relying on some stable old things. There may be some things like this or some others that we want to, and I will ask you two, both of you, do you have things that you think we could use to educate our
You
people
having your own
about
table this
stormwater?
year?
Talking to the
Sometimes they
microphone.
have their own tables, so they might have their own.
Yeah, you do.
They want to.
And we briefly talked about that. Unclear if we will be able to have one. We're getting mixed information about COVID and everything.
Yeah.
But we can easily provide you with the handouts depending on what you need. And so the typical ones, like there's those, the goodie bags, the doggy cut waste
Yep.
keychains. Those are
Yeah,
always
those
the
are
hit.
cute, yeah.
We have those here.
And then we have a lot of little fact sheets from Clemson. So we can, based on this, we can kind of summarize what we have and what you might be interested in, and we'll send you a list.
Yeah, we like to say, because we've had quite a number of things that we've done in the past, but we don't get people coming up saying, hey, I would like to know about drainage and the ground. We get people who come up and say, what's this all about? Who are you? What you doing? And so we start telling them about the things that we're trying to promote. So it's better to choose a few things and go with that. And then you need something new next time. So we're just looking for any ideas you have of what are the hot topics that would be of interest to people in today's world. We are also proceeding on the basis that we're going to go to this festival and do it unless the Delta variant,
yes.
as it's doing now, it starts really surging, we may all back off again. So I don't think so. I hope not.
Yeah.
In years past, you suggested, you came up with the idea of the rain barrel and the storm drain.
Yeah.
I think something like that, that's sitting out, that people don't know exactly why we've got it sitting there. I thought the storm drain thing was very interesting. I mean, I never saw how shallow it was and stuff before.
That's a good thing to have out. We could put that out.
Yeah, the catch basin
That's
insert.
easy. The rain
Yeah, I'm
barrel,
even calling it the wrong thing,
The thing,
the
yeah.
catch basin.
the rain barrel is a little more problematic in that it's more difficult to move out there. And you tend to be, well, this is the rain barrel, and there's really
And then
20
everybody,
different
where do I
kinds
buy that?
you can do. Rain garden is a good thing to do if we could figure out how to get some example there. I don't know. That's something we've never done before.
Anyone good at making models? Like landscaping for train sets and everything? Anyone does that?
Sorry.
Not that I know. I can disqualify you by showing my HO stuff that I used to make. Disqualify myself. No, I don't think anybody can do it. My wife's a hell of a gardener, so maybe we could do that. We haven't ever done a rain garden though. We basically have a yard that's kind of a festival of things that are growing, and we're birders and we track every bird we can get in there.
Yeah.
And so we love our trees. We just paid lots of money to trim them all and cut none of them down. So that's a whole different way to do it. So let's get some ideas together of what we can do. And if you have a thought on a rain garden or a water barrel thing that would be easy to get a move in or anything like that, we've done most of these things before, but it's always good to throw stuff out and get conversations going. If you aren't coming, or excuse me, if you are coming or aren't coming, we can combine the things that we put out front so that we can all talk about them too. So we don't tend to have the spinner where we make it a prize or a game, but we did that one year with matching up the source of the pollution and the impact on And that went quite well. And we can always fall back on those if we don't have something good to do. So.
All right.
So how about everybody get to everybody else in this room, any thoughts you have on what to do?
Mhm.
And we'll try to put it together. John and I usually get together in late August or usually September, we get postponed into, and we'll just sit down and have an hour or two session. If somebody wants to sit on that, we'll let you know when that is. And we meet in John's sumptuous office area. So,
Spacious.
spacious, yes, there's room for 2 people in there and the rest have to kneel or stand. So.
Just real quick, do you think it's too contentious if we posted one of the "Don't feed the geese" signs and just have it there for people to see?
Well, that's not contentious. We've done that before.
You
That's no
have?
problem.
Okay.
That's not really.
We need a nasty sign, one of those ones that says you're ruining the environment if you feed the geese. you
Well,
know.
that's actually what was said at the wildlife management and control training I went to. They had an entire brochure on alligators, geese, ducks,
Swans.
swans. They also had fox, snakes. You know, this is all wildlife with the stormwater. This was under the stormwater management series that they had. And I saw that they had pictures and photos of geese attacking people and because they got too close to them and so on. And definitely do not feed the geese was in the message in there.
Yeah.
You
Well,
ruin the
you don't want to feed
population.
any of them, though. There are people who think that feeding the swans is
Yeah, I
okay,
agree. They're
but
not.
not geese because they make mess.
Well, I
Well, they
think
all
this-
poop.
I think the sign says waterfowl. It doesn't say just
does.
geese. So if that's an idea, it's take one of the signs and put it like a column right next to the table. It says don't.
Do we have an
Grass
extra?
right behind.
Do we have an extra one?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that way
Just
it's,
a little thing above it, please.
Yeah.
So sidewalk, like-
Could someone
or
tell us,
add a statement underneath that says, or else she'll go to whatever.
do you know when the deadline is to apply for that permit or like the table permit for the barbecue?
Debbie Ellis in Town Hall handles the registration.
Okay.
So
If you were on the list before, you will get it again.
Okay,
And so you'll get a thing, and I have to, even though we're a town council, we have to fill out a form, send it in. Because you're a nonprofit, you have to send it in, but you don't pay the fee,
okay.
to the best of my knowledge. Only the people who are hawking wares pay fees. So.
yeah, Debbie knows what I don't know when they're gonna open up the registration.
Yeah.
Debbie would know that.
When you go to do the schedule of managed food, like, I usually do afternoon, but I can do whatever. I have no trips planned. unfortunately.
Okay, PM.
Either.
Okay.
Same here.
Same here. I'll fill in. I'll do whatever.
Spoke, fill in. Okay, you're on from 10 to 4 then.
Oh, good. All right.
No,
Sounds
I'm just kidding. I like to put everybody down for somewhere between 2 and 2.5 hours. It's very doable.
Yeah.
I think we're there almost the whole day. you
Yeah,
know, it's
I always-
coming in and
I
out.
always come early and then I end up staying through lunch and I miss my favorite band, Josh Brennan. I never get to hear them. I gotta improve that.
Yes, you have.
So Mel loves to go around the thing. She's mad at me for making her work on the booth. I won't do that
She
again.
does such a good job.
She is
Really
fantastic.
excellent.
She goes out front and just sucks them in. She can
Yeah,
stand for
yeah.
4 hours and,
Carnival barking.
yeah, she would.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, so I'm
That's
early.
all contingent, no COVID.
I'm from 9 a.m. until the Clemson game, if there is one. No, just kidding. So, all right. All right. Yvette, do you have a preference? You have other obligations that day?
I'm open.
Okay. Do you care when?
No,
Okay.
I'll open, I'll close,
put you
I'll
as-
bring lunch.
I'll put you as the fill-in. Always
Okay.
good to have a half-hour overlap.
I'll either stay the whole day or do what I did last time,
Yeah.
do a couple hours in the morning, then come at the end.
I'm gonna put you as early late. So we'll get,
Well, I have my son
I'm
visits me
teaching.
some weekends, so I'm not sure
I met him here,
what weekend it is.
whatever time it was last time you had fall festival.
Yeah. You brought it.
I'll just put you down as long lunch break. Okay. 2+, yeah,
All right.
yeah. Okay. Good. You guys let us know if, when you get to it, and we'll communicate with you always anyway as to what we're doing. If there's anything we should be doing together, if you're not gonna do a booth, but one of you wants to come, we've got plenty of room to have a separate little place for some of your stuff, so
Okay.
we could do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And will we have another meeting before the event? No.
No.
Okay.
It's right after, so we can talk about how well or poorly we did.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Yeah. Critique it real good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just talk to us
Yeah, we-
by email or phone
That's something
call.
I should do, is we should put the next meeting date on all these things, so. I think it's October 20th again, or 21st, it's 20 or 21st all month,
Yes.
yeah. I didn't bring my notes, I got too many house guests. So,
October 19th.
October 19th, okay. Okay, all right. Does anybody have any other thoughts on the festival? Because we've all gotten used to it, I think. So, okay, well, good. I'll work with John. We'll let you know that when the meeting is to do it in probably early September. The next item on the agenda is that there was I put Stormwater Committee, but it was a meeting inviting all committees to have their members come in and meet with Bill Shanahan, the town administrator. I always forget the second word of that, town executive administrator. And I'll let others who were there, which I know was Yvette, I don't think anybody else was there, but she and I, and John was there, of course. He went over, how many employees we have, how many regular full-time, how many part-time, 10 temporary summer employees, stuff like that, and how things are going. But he basically wanted to tell us that he wants the committees to get involved into the town's visioning to some degree. And the town council, I believe, has come up with a vision that Surfside Beach should be known as the #1 vacation destination in South Carolina. They hope they can expand that to broader and broader till they could get to the #1 vacation destination in the United States, which sounded to me like quite a stretch, but Disney might have an objection to that.
Yeah, they might.
But they've talked about they'd like all the committees to think about getting involved in that to some degree if they can. What is it that's in your committee's vision? What's your goal? What's your objectives? And what are you doing that could help contribute to that? And I haven't had any ideas since that meeting. I don't think we don't have the things that naturally attract visitors for vacations in stormwater generally, other than doing it right. And that's what we want to be the best in the area or the most attractive from a stormwater point of view. But one of the reasons they're looking at it is that they will fund committees that have ideas that will promote that. And our funds are mostly for projects. And I don't see that anything other than communicating that our water is clean is anything that we could ask for funds for. Just now, Yvette, I know you were there. I don't think you were at that.
No, I was not.
And I know you couldn't come.
Yes.
So Yvette, any other thoughts on that of what you heard?
Yeah, because you and I were at the meeting and the immediate response was, and then I followed up with you, John, was, well, they had asked for all the committees to take a look at their mission statement and see whether or not they could tweak it or revise it or bring it up to date, or if they even needed a committee anymore. So that was what he was telling everyone. And of course, in follow-up with everyone, we pretty much have a very good mission statement and it doesn't really need tweaking. There's nothing in the mission statement that we're going to put that says we're striving to be the #1 destination of South Carolina, blah, blah, blah. But the idea since then in my head was perhaps get some money to have a brochure done that features our stormwater items like the beautiful ponds with the beautiful swans, and mentioning that, we do water quality monitoring. We ensure that there's the beauty and aesthetic that happens when you have ponds and trees, the lovely trees for stormwater drainage, that's one of the things that we could do about promoting the town as being a #1 destination. And the thought came to me because often when friends come to visit me, the first thing they say is, wow, your place is like nothing like Myrtle Beach or further down, because we have such beautiful willow trees that still are being preserved and protected. And we have way more trees than unless you go further inlet to like the Carolina forest area. but even the Carolina Forest area, they'll do a heck of a lot of clear cutting to create these aesthetically pleasing looking pathways and trees. And we have a totally different mindset and look. We do not look like Market Commons that has these beautifully lined, sidewalks and bridges and to create paths and running and walking. We've got more into the nature and the aesthetically beautiful appearance, so to speak. So, and this is an everyday all-American small town. So I think that's one idea, is maybe get a brochure that emphasizes that. There are a lot of people and groups that are under conservation and wildlife series, and they want to go visit places that have the nature aspect of visiting a beach town than they do going to a North Myrtle, where they get to go from bar hopping to listening to music or eating a lot. So that may be an appeal, is to reach out to that area of the targeted audience with that look, the appearance, the beach quality, the ponds.
The area has more little parks than we do. We don't have one gigantic one, but we have several. Just
Yes.
Nice parks for people to
Yes.
take their children, their family, their older families.
Yes. We have the community garden, we have the children's park. We've just put a tree in the ground to create a Arbor Day event every year. I think they're going to try to add more trees or some kind of landscaping or something later on.
I think the idea of being the #1 vacation destination and some growing entity is the idea that you're better than everybody else as a place to go. And stormwater doesn't necessarily create more parks.
No.
Doesn't do all these things. We have to think, do we have a role in that we can brag about? And I'm very scared to brag about we're better at stormwater than anybody else.
Oh,
that would be hard to defend.
I don't think I wasn't thinking of any of the language within the body of the brochure be about stormwater as much as
It's mostly a negative when you hear that.
it's mostly as the beauty of the town.
Yeah.
And because it is taken care of, protecting its trees, ensuring its water quality by monitoring it, making sure that flooding is under control and maintaining and managing stormwater, that's what creates the loveliness of the town.
Can we claim that we do a better job with stormwater management?
I don't know that we can claim that. There are well over 100 MS4s in South Carolina. And the bigger your budget,
Do we get in trouble by saying we do a good job, or we?
No, we could brag on that. It's part of the landscape. Is, part of the reason why you have such a beautiful town is because of our efforts. Certainly, like even those blue signs we put in front of the lakes, that say, what you're looking at is not only an attractive lake, it's also a stormwater retention area that's necessary to filter out pollutants from the stormwater that comes down. And, please don't feed the wildlife, that tends to, you should try to incorporate the aesthetics into your conversation. Part of what you enjoy about Surfside Beach is the fact that we pay attention to things like that. But I think that the administrator's message was more geared towards the committees that deal with public messages, like the beautification committee, or maybe the business committee, or maybe, something like that.
I think our name has beach in it, beach is water. I think every time we have a holiday, like the 4th of July, so many people who don't live here drive in with or without children to watch the parade because it's safe. The ponds are safe to walk around. You don't have to worry about pollution here. On the streets are clean, and all that has to do with water runoff. We're a safe place for people to come.
So excellent stormwater management keeps our town clean, safe, and beautiful.
If you will design a brochure or a card that you want to have printed up, we can all, feel free to do so.
I just want that to be a line that's in the overall pitch.
Yeah, that's
Because
fine.
it's our contribution to something that's really much more other
Yeah.
things. It's the beautiful
Yeah,
beach.
if you have, if
It's
you
a
all want to
beautiful
publish a card or a two-sided thing or a brochure that you want to have to give out, promoting that message, that we can stick in town hall, I'll be happy to pay for it. You know, if we all agree that it sends the right message. I do it for the beautification committee on certain things. I pay for some of their stuff because it dovetails into what I do with public works.
I think the amount of testing you all do on the water, on ponds, is, that fast, you know, I think that's incredible.
Well, it's just like everybody else around here, though. They're all doing it. They really are.
Yes,
All the
but
town.
it's,
You'd be
how many
amazed,
people have no idea.
you'd be amazed how many people stop us.
Yeah.
While we're out testing, wanting to know, what are you doing? You know, it's like they're curious, you know, what is it you're doing?
And as much as we do, I mean, the public interaction is, that's, to me, that's the whole thing right there. It's a lot, that's a big part of what we do. But as far as the amount of testing goes, our neighbors do way more testing than we do, you know,
Yeah.
north and south of us. Sure. As far as the amount of sites that they test
They
and
got
all this
more
stuff.
stuff.
Well, they have more problems. too.
They have more problems, to be sure, but I don't know if we can make a claim that we do, you know,
We're not gonna say
extraordinary amount of.
We don't want to be better. We're just saying we keep it.
Yeah, we
safe
keep
and
our
beautiful
area,
By with
yeah.
good stormwater management.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Public-
And that's one thing in a list
Sure.
of 10 things that our town does that makes the whole thing.
Public
clean, safe,
education
and
and
beautiful. That's all I
participation,
have.
which is great.
If there was aspects of this brochure that talked about the volunteer water quality monitoring program, we'd be happy to help with that. But you're selling yourself short, Ron. This is a really amazing program and group of volunteers that you have here. I talked about it at the National Water Quality Conference about Surfside in particular. So I think the relationship you have with John and then with the town, with the testing is pretty neat. We're pretty proud of it. So
Good. That's good.
I'll say y'all are the best in the state if you want me to. Caveat, also Merle's Lib, but
We
The
could
people we
answer
pay a
everyone
fee to
else.
really love us.
Yeah.
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 I'm just kidding. you, so. All right, well, do we need to take action and get back to Bill Shanahan?
Probably not. Unless you expect,
As-
he's really looking for something.
I don't think he's looking for anything. I think he just wanted everybody to think about what their mission statement is.
Is it possible to have another project like this with the CCU folks to help develop something, whether it's pictures and a statement?
I'm sorry, can you clarify?
It's like a group of folks that would look at from an advertising perspective, I guess. And
I believe the consortium helped generate wrap cards and brochures before. So I think if, yeah, and Susan's texting me some old handouts and she could probably speak to this better, but if you all determined there was a particular issue you wanted our help with,
mhm.
the consortium could work on it and then other ed providers could contribute. But that would really have to come from y'all.
Okay.
So
Okay, because I'm thinking I'll go on the internet and look for example of what I think I might look good, and then from there, how could that be tailored
Mhm.
more to us? And that's what I was thinking. And if somebody does stuff like this where you are, then you could tap into that, but that's fine.
for sure, and we'll make sure it's not something we've already done, and we'll make sure maybe it's something we need to update or
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
take something and put the Surfside logo on it. So, you know, just let us know.
I really like this town because they try, other than the town council, and the citizens always fighting with each other. We try to do everything excellently. We really do. And I think excellence is the word you should use when you promote this town. And we have no problems at all claiming that we do excellent stormwater management. And what it benefits our town in several ways. If we can convey to Bill that we feel that way and that we think other people might want to line up behind the excellence thing and excellent beaches, excellent accommodations, excellent entertainment and food areas, they all want to promote each of these things. Might be the way we'd want to go. And so if y'all don't mind, I think I'd like to send him a note so he shows at least somebody listened, because I think he was in a way looking for help as to which way to go and what people are thinking. And I know that the like Surfside Beautiful and all those will be flowing with ideas and things to do. But if you give them a thought of what we think we do and how others might mix with that, or how we might mix with a similar different wording into something they want to do as a central core, with the same thought of how we do things well to make it safe, clean, and beautiful.
I think that's a much better way of talking and saying positive things about ourselves.
Yeah.
That we do things in an excellent manner
That's right.
versus we're the best, just sort of arrogant.
Yeah,
you know.
I hate that word, the
Yeah.
best stuff, because it's just
Yeah.
a competition.
Yeah,
of
no,
who can yell-
Everybody else behind
who
you.
can yell louder.
Yeah.
So,
You should send them a note then.
yeah, I will. If you don't mind, I'll send it.
I don't know.
I did.
Our team met at length in great sessions to come up with that.
Yeah, would it be possible next year to change our schedule so that we meet like before the spring festival and before the fall festival? So we would meet in September, I guess we'd meet in February and then,
I think we can do anything we want, as long as we meet at least twice a year or something
yeah,
like that.
you're having to carry the load because we don't meet till after the festival.
For the festival, it doesn't matter. We've done it enough that we're kind of in a grinding
Okay.
gear of doing the same things, only slight difference. And all we want is ideas from people. And if you have an idea, just send it out to everybody in the group. And everybody participating and being there from the committee is something this group that we've had for the last 4 years, I think has done as well or better than any group before, and getting out there and being with the
No doubt
public.
about that.
And so that's, to me, the key thing that we want to do is get out with the public. Every time we've tried to come up with a better place to meet with people, it has fizzled terribly. You just can't get the people out to see you because let's go all talk about
Yeah.
stormwater at this place and nobody comes. So you have to go where the people are. And the only thing we can do is what other events could we participate in? And then the question is, do we do enough? Yeah, we do. We work hard at these two festivals. And we get anybody who wants to learn about stormwater has an opportunity to.
Right.
And we have enough people there, but we always have 2, 3, or 4 they're working the thing, and it works pretty well.
Yeah, we do our best to attract people to our booth and see what, like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
Catch people's eye.
we're gonna have a big jar of slime and a big jar of clear water this year, don't worry. So that always brings in somebody, so. That's good. Okay, let's get off that subject. And if you think that we could really improve ourselves by changing the date,
I think it would, I was hoping it might help you more, or the,
when I first got on, I felt exactly the same way. Why are these dates always screwed up so we can't do it?
after an
But
event.
once now we've gotten in pretty much a grind, all we really need
What
to do.
happens if you decide you want to take a year off, then you've got this, you're used to the abuse.
Well, we have people that are, anybody on this committee could do this. This is easy to do. So
Wrong.
it is. Well. But time-wise, we're getting late. I presume there are restrooms back there. I don't know why
Yes, there
everybody's
are.
going there.
Yeah,
Yes, there are.
All right. I would like to move on to the, and I think we covered the Bill Shanahan thing. Post-COVID Stormwater Committee educational events and outreach is just my hopeless plea of, we only go to the festivals to do anything, or we outreach. And outreach is our number one thing to do. Of all the 6 MS4 principles we have, this committee is most concerned with outreach to the public and to the citizens to do the right things around stormwater. And I, for the life of me, can't think of anything else that we can do as well as we do festivals. So,
I think that's probably our best bet.
and how do we get in touch with people?
I mean,
Mailing things to them doesn't,
Signage, but you're doing that.
People are not, unless there's a flood going on, or people are generally not that concerned about stormwater, thankfully.
yeah,
I think
that's good news.
yeah, it's good. I mean, if we're in Rosewood and Sockasty, the county's buying houses out because they get flooded from the river flooding. Those stormwater meetings are packed with people screaming and yelling from their stormwater advisory committee. I think it's a blessing in disguise that people only after a hurricane really come to our meetings.
So in other words, if we do our job properly, no one ever knows.
Yeah,
That's right.
unless there's standing water in front of your house, most people aren't really too worried about it.
What
Yeah.
have you ever thought of taking a trail and show it to like the grade schools and things to tell them, show them how you take a water sample and do the reading of it, that sort of stuff?
No,
I think the kids would love it.
well, they would, but we're not doing it for the town then, we're doing it for the school.
No,
Yeah.
well, the local, yeah.
And the ed providers do that,
Yeah.
you know, like Carolina Clear and
The only-
consortium people and,
The only
That's-
captive group I think of town is the senior center where my brother was going to.
Yep.
And those people generally are no longer active enough to.
Mm.
The churches in town, they're like, want to hear about the stormwater efforts that are being made, some of the groups that meet during, you know,
I asked United Methodist that when I was there, they really have any interest.
oh, see, I've already tried these.
And we had, one of the guys came by for it's the Horry County or broader Democratic Committee, which he said is a real small group in this area.
I guess so.
And he said, well, if you guys want to come and talk to us sometime, we're always looking for speakers. We have trouble getting them. And I thought, well, do you have many people in Surfside? No, I don't think so. So I just would have trouble with the outreach where you're really going out of the city. You want to talk to citizens and
Yeah, I'm trying to
visitors,
think
and
of
that's pretty much it. So, see, that's what happens. We ask for ideas and then you have one and we don't want it, so.
No, and the one I did get that you'd already done, and they get
Yeah.
work.
Yes, yeah. We did plan to talk about, and I'm having mental lapses, the park right, Bill, whatever it is, park over there with the baseball field.
Martin Field?
Yeah, Martin Field, but on the other side where there's a little clubhouse there.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you know,
Martin Park.
Martin
Martin
Park.
call that
Okay,
side
Martin
Martin
Park, the whole thing, okay. But in that little clubhouse and around it, we were gonna put up little things and bring in people and have a water garden, or impervious pavers and all these things, and get the merchants to come in and do that. And we'd set up all our stuff, but we could never get it really going in terms of how we could attract people. So,
Yeah, you have to have a town event surrounding it. Maybe with this new attraction towards Martin Field, like they just had the
Yeah.
4th of July.
yes,
The committee, the beautification committee has suggested that we have more events at Martin Field,
Yeah.
since a lot of people seem to like it.
yeah, it's a great.
So that might be a way to get a little demo area set up for a future event at Martin Field.
Why have they had traffic cones up in that area for so long?
Because when we put the bathroom in, the sand became very soft over there, from all the equipment in and out of there, and people will get stinking in there.
Ah.
So I don't want to pave it, I just want to let it settle down,
Okay.
and then we'll remove the cones after a little while.
Well, for a while back, there was a rezoning sign in there up by the side of the house.
Yeah, the first house applied for some sort of a variance or something. That posed a sign for someone to take.
Victoria.
Have y'all ever partnered with the beautification committee to have one of their yards of the month be one that is the most like rain garden slash water conservation?
No,
That there could be opportunity there where they're not only promoting beautiful, but also helping stormwater.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
All we have to do is nominate a house.
that's the
Yeah.
KSSB committee, right? They're more interested in holding events and
They
things.
would-
than
Yeah, but they
anything.
do a yard of the month.
Yeah, they
yard of
do.
the month.
They would probably do that, concentrate on a road, on a garden theme that had rainwater, stormwater management, pavers that do a really good job. If we could help them, I'm sure they would be glad to do that.
Yeah.
They also at one point thought about going around and taking photographs of houses that were butt up against lakes or across the street from lakes, because I had talked to them about how the stormwater ponds we have are not only a benefit to people who live backing up to the stormwater ponds, but also the neighbors across the street when you're looking at issues like pet waste and making sure you pick up your pet waste and not let it just assume doesn't need to be. And they were very interested in that too. They thought that would be a really good idea to showcase the houses around the water bodies and what the grounds could look like.
It seems like they have harder times getting homes of the month as the flower season dies down. So we
Yes.
might be getting ready. I mean, one year they even approached me with my pitiful yard. And, I do have no grass.
Mhm.
And I explained to them, in a month from now, all these flowers will be dead and people will be going by saying, what? Yeah, but I do know they get desperate once in a while.
They don't tend to do the yard of the month in the colder months.
No, I think September or October is the October
Yes.
latest is the last.
Because they substitute it with their Santa packages that they distribute out to folks. And that's a different thing, but
We can talk to them. That's good. Yeah, let's see what we can work out. You could also have a demonstration of all the things you can do in your yard at one place and get it together, but there's another event where people come. So maybe as this town changes, though, we're gonna find that we have other events that we can go to and get people there. But I like the idea of a yard, the best yard, and all the things you can put in your yard to be stormwater friendly. That's kind of.
Or we can come up with our own
Yeah.
placard that we can distribute, have our own,
Yeah, but
because their criteria may be just strictly aesthetic. Maybe the stormwater committee could have their own stormwater friendly yard of the month.
so what's a list of could we compile a list of things that makes a yard stormwater friendly?
Sure.
yeah, if you go on the Clemson
they're out there.
Extension site,
Yeah, you can get a list. easy
they
enough.
have a lot of pictures and
We could,
examples.
we could do spot awards. Somebody puts in
Yeah.
say, a paper driveway, turns on a driveway, puts paper in. Put a full
A
sign
pervious
saying,
paper
This
particularly.
this
yeah.
is a perfect example of stormwater management.
No.
Even though the guy that did it's probably doing it because zoning says you gotta do it.
Yeah, that's right. You can't put in that much concrete.
Right.
Oh, someone did put in,
Filter
someone
yeah.
did concrete their entire yard and backyard
Yeah.
in our town, so.
Use your microphone if you're talking, Tara.
Yes, sir.
You'll have made 30 comments and none of them will be picked up.
It's probably just as well.
Okay.
All right. Okay, sorry, I turned over my agenda.
Okay.
I like discussions like that though, so. Unless there's anything else you want to bring up, it's time for comments, items of interest for committee members and you are full committee members, so anything on your mind too. So.
No, actually, at this point, I don't have anything on my mind, but like, very interesting discussion. I'm looking forward to work with you guys in the future.
Okay.
And we'll discuss the points. I'm sorry I didn't get a pen to take notes, so I will share with you.
Oh, I've got extra pens that we should ask.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, and looking forward to the festival as well, and we'll see what we can help you with in this upcoming festival.
Yeah, make sure you staff your booth that you can get out for an hour to walk around. It's a fun place to spend some time. You got to eat and you can use it to walk around and see everything, and it's fun. It really is. I think the people in your booth work many more hours than ours do. We come and go and you go all day, so. One question, I guess, of general interest is what do you have in terms of volunteers and helpers at this point? Do you usually have some young people coming in and helping out, or has that been restricted by the COVID and the conditions of the world today?
I think it depends. So they've got a lot of engineering students who are
Yeah,
up for things.
that's
and need
new though, all these
experience.
engineering, yeah.
That is new. I believe Lisa in the past would have interns. Obviously we haven't since she's been
Yeah.
gone. We have students that help with the volunteer monitoring stuff
Yeah.
and the other EQL things. So we can involve students in things.
Okay.
So there definitely could be if we're able, a student could help with the
Yeah, well,
festival.
if you can convince them that they're needed, then they give yourself a good time for a lunch and wander around the place if you can get
That's a good.
a
Yeah,
a
good
helper
reminder.
in there. I think that would be good. But I always enjoy seeing the young folks. They're fun to talk to. And then there'll be the year that Lisa captured a squirrel one year. So we should say that.
A tiny little squirrel.
Yeah, as a baby. Yeah, that was a funny story. So,
Mhm.
and she would always bring her dog or dogs. So, all right, I think we've covered everything on here. Is there anything else that we need to discuss? Then this overlong meeting is going to end. All right, see you on October 19th and at the festival. So,
Thank you.
meeting's over.
I'll follow up on these few items. I'll get back to all
Yeah.
via email.
Yeah, I may be calling people trying to remember what we said on one thing or another.
John, I just forwarded you the packet.
Thank you all
from
for
this
coming.
Stormwater advisory meeting that,
Well,
is-
yeah.
yeah.
Turn us off quick before we say something we don't want repeated.
Okay, yeah, I'll go through it and I'll see what they're talking about.